Hello, all you freedom-loving people. New information has surfaced as to why D.C. Police Chief Pamela Smith resigned. The FBI foiled a New Year's Day terrorist attack that was planned for Los Angeles, and New York is beefing up security around Jewish events as a result of the terrorist activity this week. Okay, let's get into it. Today, the Department of Justice announced that they prevented an alleged terrorist plot that was aimed at attacking Los Angeles on New Year's Eve. Attorney General Pam Bondi wrote on X that they intervened just in time to prevent what could have been a devastating attack in Los Angeles and Orange County. FBI Director Kash Patel also wrote on X explaining that they arrested 4 suspects who identified themselves as members of a radical offshoot of the Turtle Island Liberation Front. Patel described the group as an extremist group that is driven by pro-Palestinian, anti-law enforcement, and anti-government ideology. A 5th person who is connected to the Turtle Island Liberation Front was also arrested by the FBI's New Orleans office. Officials allege that the group were planning improvised explosive device attacks at 5 different locations in the area. Bondi said that the group was also working to target immigration and custom enforcement vehicles and agents. 4 people have now been charged in federal court with conspiracy and possession of an unregistered destructive device. Reports say that an Instagram account that is linked to the group regularly shared pro-Native American, anti-government, and pro-Palestinian content, along with anti-capitalist messaging and imagery that is tied to Marxist guerrilla movements. In response to the attack, Los Angeles police said that they are increasing patrol at Jewish schools, synagogues, and Hanukkah events while the holiday continues through December 23rd. And the New York police also said that they are deploying additional resources to public Hanukkah celebrations in synagogues as a precaution. They have urged the public to stay alert and report anything suspicious. And in the meantime, yesterday, the House Oversight Committee released a report about the outgoing police chief for Washington, D.C. The report alleges that Chief Pamela A. Smith manipulated crime statistics and pressured commanders to make it appear that crime in the capital was lower than what the data actually showed. And today, House Committee Chief James Comer shared a video on X and wrote, "D.C. Chief Smith pressured staff to cook the books and manipulate crime data. Chief Smith removed officers for reporting accurate crime data. Chief Smith used fear to achieve her agenda."
Now, those House Republicans say what their investigation consisted of was interviewing all 7 commanders of D.C. Metro Police's patrol districts, including a former commander who is currently suspended for allegedly tampering with crime stats in his own district. And these are some of the conclusions they've made in their report. They allege that D.C. Metro Police Chief Pamela Smith pressured commanders to report lower crime stats by any means necessary. The commanders testified that Chief Smith even pushed them to pursue lesser charges that aren't publicly reported, even for serious crimes, and she required certain crimes to be reviewed by her office. Now, the report also says police commanders testified that Chief Smith punished them and retaliated against them if they tried to report accurate rising crime data, even berating them in meetings and individually to pressure them into reporting those lower crime figures. Now, in a statement on the report, House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer says in part, quote, "Chief Pamela Smith coerced staff to report artificially low crime data and cultivated a culture of fear to achieve her agenda. Chief Smith's decision to mislead the public by manipulating crime statistics is dangerous and undermines trust in both local leadership and law enforcement." And that report went on to say that those D.C. police commanders testified that President Trump's federal takeover of their department and his deployment of the National Guard to the streets here in D.C. were both effective in terms of reducing overall crime.
Last week, we reported that Chief Smith announced her resignation after 2.5 years on the job. The House committee said that her resignation actually came after their interviews with department commanders. According to the testimony in the interim report, Chief Smith was more focused on driving down reported crime numbers than reducing crime itself. On December 14th, a mass shooting occurred at Bondi Beach, a popular tourist destination in Sydney, Australia. The death toll has now risen to 16, with 42 people injured. The attack targeted the Jewish community, and it has been classified as a terrorist incident. At the time of the shooting, approximately 1,000 Sydney residents were attending the Hanukkah by the Sea event at Bondi Beach. This is a significant Jewish festival. Several thousand more had gathered on the beach and in the surrounding areas. Around 7 p.m. local time, 2 gunmen opened fire on the crowd from a bridge. They continued firing for about 9 minutes until a local man subdued one of the gunmen by surprise, and the police arrived on the scene within 5 minutes. Thousands fled the beach, surging into nearby shops and cafes, while others jumped into the sea to escape the perilous situation. Police have now confirmed that the 2 gunmen were father and son. One of the alleged gunmen has been named by New South Wales Police as 24-year-old Naveed Akram, while the other has been identified as his 50-year-old father, Sajid Akram. Footage from the scene showed that a man, later identified as 43-year-old fruit shop owner Ahmed Al Ahmed, tackled and disarmed one of the gunmen who is believed to be the father, Sajid, before pointing his own weapon at him, which was empty. Then the disarmed gunman ran toward where the other gunman was located. Ahmed was then shot twice and required surgery. Among the 42 people that were injured were several police officers who were involved in the operation. The father was fatally shot by police, and the second gunman was among the injured, and he is currently in critical condition. Police Commissioner Mal Lanyon of the New South Wales Police Force said, shortly after the shooting occurred, police located a vehicle in Campbell Parade at Bondi, which we believe has several improvised explosive devices. The Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has announced that flags across the nation will be flown at half-mast in mourning. Albanese said the attack is an act of evil, anti-Semitism, terrorism that has struck the heart of our nation. New South Wales Premier Chris Minns stated that mass shootings are extremely rare in Australia, making this incident all the more shocking. And the day before the Australian tragedy, a shooting incident also occurred at Brown's University in the United States. At the time, exams were being held at the university and the main building remained unlocked. A male gunman, believed to be in his 30s and dressed in black, opened fire on students in a classroom within the Barris and Hawley building, home to Brown University's Engineering and Physics Department, before fleeing the scene. The shooting resulted in 2 fatalities and 9 injuries. Providence Mayor Brett Smiley disclosed that among the 9 injured, 7 are currently in stable condition. 1 was in critical condition but has since stabilized, and 1 has been discharged from the hospital. The suspect, 24-year-old Benjamin Erickson, was apprehended at a hotel in Providence, approximately 15 miles from Brown University campus. FBI Director Kash Patel stated on X on Sunday that the FBI's Mobile Analysis Unit utilized mobile phone data to provide crucial suspect geolocation. However, 1 day later, the law enforcement agency determined that there was no longer sufficient evidence to continue treating the man as a suspect, with the relevant evidence pointing in a different direction. Consequently, they decided to release him. In a news conference, Rhode Island Attorney General Peter Nerona said that the murderer is still at large, so Brown's University announced that all remaining undergraduate, graduate, and medical classes, exams, and papers or projects for the fall 2025 semester will not take place as scheduled. And today, during the meeting at the Oval Office, President Trump talked about the shooter.
We're going to see what happens. Hopefully they're going to capture this animal. Hopefully they're going to capture him.
Has Kash Patel told you why it's been so difficult for the FBI to identify who the shooter is?
Well, it's always difficult. So far, we've done a very good job of doing it with Charlie, with, the various times this has happened. They've done it in pretty much record time. But you really have to ask the school a little bit more.
And the 2 students who were killed have now been identified as Ella Cook and Mohammed Aziz Umarakov. Cook is from Alabama. She was vice president of the Brown College Republicans, and Umarakov is from Uzbekistan. In the aftermath, President Trump and First Lady Melania extended their sympathies to the victims and families of the violent attacks at Brown University and Bondi Beach in Australia yesterday, as they welcomed guests to the White House to celebrate Christmas and Hanukkah.
And before we begin, however, I want to just pay my respects to the people. Unfortunately, 2 are no longer with us. Brown University, 9 injured, and 2 are looking down on us right now from heaven. And likewise in Australia, as you know, that was a terrible attack, 11 dead, 29 badly wounded. And that was an anti-Semitic attack, obviously.
President Trump expressed his admiration for the man who managed to disarm one of the gunmen in Bondi. President Trump said, "In Australia, you probably read, it's been a very, very brave person, actually, who went and attacked frontally one of the shooters and saved a lot of lives." Australian media have confirmed the hero to be 43-year-old fruit shop proprietor Ahmed Al-Ahmed, who is the father of 2 children. Video footage shows Ahmed tackling one of the gunmen from behind and wrestling the firearm from him as the attacker was firing into the crowd. The gunman stumbled to the ground before retreating. Ahmed pointed his gun at the gunman but did not fire. Subsequently, Ahmed raised one arm, seemingly signaling to police that he was not the gunman. Ahmed's cousin Mustafa informed Australian media outlet 7 News Australia that Ahmed sustained 1 gunshot wound to each arm and shoulder and underwent surgery. He was injured when the second gunman opened fire upon him after he had subdued the first assailant. Ahmed remains in hospital and is receiving treatment. Also on Saturday, in the Palmyra region of Syria, 2 U.S. Army soldiers and an American civilian interpreter were killed in an attack with 3 others wounded. Pentagon spokesperson Sean Parnell stated that at the time of the attack, the soldiers were engaging with a key figure. U.S. Secretary of War Pete Higgs has stated that the assailants were killed by Allied forces. A Syrian security source stated that 2 Syrian soldiers were also wounded in the attack. President Trump has pledged to pursue serious retaliation against ISIS after the attack. President Trump wrote, "This was an ISIS attack against the U.S. and Syria in a very dangerous part of Syria that is not fully controlled by them." The president of Syria, Ahmed al-Sharaa, is extremely angry and disturbed by this attack. There will be very serious retaliation.
And I just want to pay my respects to everybody. I must say in Syria also, we had an attack in Syria. And we had 3 great patriots terminated by bad people, and not the Syrian government. It was ISIS. Syrian government fought by our side. The new president fought by our side. But I just want to pay my respects to the families. We also had 3 injured, but 2 of them are already out of the hospital, and one's going to be okay. But we lost 3, so it was a rough day.
The shooter is believed to have been an ISIS infiltrator who was working as part of a local security force. Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke on the phone with Syrian Foreign Minister Assad al-Shabani on Sunday. According to a statement, al-Shabani offered condolences and reiterated the commitment of the Syrian government to degrade and destroy the shared threat of ISIS. A Syrian security official told Agency France Press on Sunday that 11 members of the General Security Forces were arrested and brought in for questioning after the attack. The president also extended his thoughts to the 3 Americans who were killed and injured in the ISIS attack. Yesterday, Ukrainian President Zelensky held talks in Berlin, Germany, with U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner in an effort to advance negotiations toward a peace agreement. The meeting lasted about 5 hours, and further negotiations took place today. German Chancellor Merz also joined Sunday's meeting. Witkoff has said that a lot of progress has been made at peace talks with Zelensky. Prior to this meeting, Zelensky stated on Sunday that Ukraine was prepared to abandon its plan to join NATO in exchange for security guarantees from the West. And since the United States and several European nations have rejected Ukraine's proposal for NATO membership, Ukraine now seeks for the West to provide a security framework comparable to that afforded to NATO member states. Zelensky said, "This is already a compromise on our part." He also stressed that any security assurances must be legally binding and supported by the U.S. Congress. Although Ukraine is flexible with one of its previous red lines in negotiations, it probably may not significantly change the course of peace talks. Justin Logan, the Director of Defense and Foreign Policy Studies at Cato Institute, said, "This doesn't move the needle at all. It's an effort to appear reasonable." Logan and Andrew Mikta, a professor of strategic studies at the University of Florida, both said that NATO membership for Ukraine has not been realistic in a long time anyway. On the issue of territorial demarcation, Zelensky hopes that the United States will back the idea of freezing the front line in Ukraine. Zelensky told reporters shortly before arriving in Berlin, "The fairest possible option is to stay where we are. This is true because it's a ceasefire. I would like the Americans to support us on this issue." And today, President Trump expressed optimism that a deal is getting closer.
But we're getting closer. We're having tremendous support from European leaders. They want to get it ended also. And at this moment, Russia wants to get it ended. The problem is they'll want to get it ended, and then all of a sudden they won't. And Ukraine will want to get it ended, and all of a sudden they won't. So we have to get them on the same page.
According to Al Jazeera, Ukrainian forces are facing a serious internal crisis. Data from Ukraine's Prosecutor General's office indicates that since the war started in 2022, approximately 235,000 soldiers have been absent without leave AWOL, with a further 54,000 formally classified as deserters. And these figures will rise significantly by the end of 2025. Valentin Manko, the top commander of stormtroopers, told the Ukrainian Pravda on Saturday, "Even in Russia, there aren't that many soldiers going AWOL." These figures reflect the soldiers' weariness from prolonged warfare and their apprehension about the high risk of frontline duty. In an interview with Timothy, a 36-year-old office worker from Kyiv that was conducted by Al Jazeera, he revealed the root of the problem. He described the recruit training center as resembling a prison, which was surrounded by a 3-meter-high concrete wall covered by barbed wire. He said, "They don't care whether a soldier learns to shoot. They gave me a gun. I shot around in the direction of a target, and they ticked a box next to my name." Realizing that they were likely to become cannon fodder on the front lines, many of the recruits chose to desert. And Timothy also said half the country is on the run. Lieutenant General Ihor Romanenko, a former deputy head of Ukraine's General Staff of Armed Forces, told Al Jazeera they think that from the legal standpoint, it's easier to go to jail than to the front lines. Although wartime regulations stipulate that deserters could be imprisoned for between 5 and 12 years, the high mortality rate meant that incarceration seemed relatively safe. And Manko said that about 30,000 men are mobilized monthly, but the preferred number is 70,000 to restaff all military units. This exacerbates manpower shortages, creating a vicious cycle. Insufficient troop numbers lead to battlefield defeats, which further undermine morale. The situation on the battlefield deteriorated as Russian forces accelerated their advance in 2025. According to the Institute for the Study of War and Media Reports, the pace of Russian military advances notably quickened in November. Ukraine's defenses were insufficient to prevent potential cascading collapses. Zelensky now faces a painful choice. Continuing the fight will exact a heavier toll, while a peace agreement will demand painful concessions. President Trump believes that life is precious. Even a poor peace deal is preferable to thousands dying every day. Chile held a presidential runoff election on Sunday. Conservative politician Jose Antonio Cast of the Chilean Republican Party secured a landslide victory. He defeated Communist Party candidate Jeanette Jara. Media reports indicate that with over 95% of the vote counted, Cast secured approximately 58% of the vote, while Jara garnered around 42%. Jara subsequently conceded defeat and telephoned Cast to offer her congratulations. Chile has witnessed its sharpest rightward shift since the end of the military dictatorship in 1990. This final contest has been characterized by extreme polarization, with the two candidates presenting starkly contrasting ideologies and backgrounds. Cast is a devout Catholic who holds staunchly conservative views, including strong opposition to same-sex marriage and abortion. His brother previously held a position within the Pinochet dictatorship. Jara is a lifelong Communist Party member and served as Labour Party minister in President Gabriel Boric's center-left government. Voter concerns over deteriorating public safety and illegal immigration proved pivotal in shaping the election outcome. Cast enjoys broad support from business figures who are impressed by his free market instincts, and from middle-class families who are too fearful of carjackings to venture out at night, and from hardline right-wing activists. Cast's victory is expected to usher in Chile's most conservative right-wing government in decades. Following the election results, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio promptly congratulated Cast on his victory, stating that under his leadership, the United States and Chile could deepen cooperation on numerous shared priorities. Although Chile ranks among Latin America's safest nations, violent crime has risen in recent years since criminal syndicates have established footholds locally. They exploit the loosely controlled desert border in the north to engage with and profit from cocaine-producing neighbors Peru and Bolivia. Government data indicates that the number of illegal immigrants entering Chile has risen in recent years, with the vast majority of them originating from Venezuela. Many voters expressed frustration regarding illegal immigration and the increase in crime rates. U.S. Special Forces recently intercepted a cargo vessel in the Indian Ocean. They seized contraband goods that were destined for Iran from China. This marks the first known instance in recent years of the U.S. military intercepting cargo originating from China and bound for Iran. U.S. officials disclosed that when operatives boarded the vessel and seized the cargo, the ship was located hundreds of miles off the coast of Sri Lanka. Subsequently, the vessel was permitted to continue its voyage. Officials stated that the United States had been tracking the equipment. An official stated that the equipment contained components potentially usable in Iran's conventional weapons programs. The seized items, classified as dual-use goods, have now been destroyed. A second official disclosed that U.S. intelligence indicated that the shipment was destined for an Iranian company that specializes in procuring components for Iran's missile program. According to the first American official, the operation involved both special operations forces and conventional troops. Western intelligence agencies have disclosed that Iran has rapidly expanded imports of key missile components from China following the United Nations announcement to reinstate sanctions against Iran. Multiple shipments of sodium perchlorate, totaling approximately 2,000 tons, have arrived at Iran's port since late September. Analysts indicate that these chemical precursors are sufficient to manufacture around 500 ballistic missiles. Experts commented that this action of intercepting the cargo would serve as a deterrent to both the Communist Party in China and Iran. And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for your support of Front Page. Please remember to leave a comment below the video. This is really helping us to be seen all around the world. The more people who watch Front Page, the more freedom-loving people the world will have. And please hit the like button and hit the notification bell after subscribing. And please share this video with your friends and family, because everybody deserves to know the truth.